what drew me to this part, I suppose, John Sim, actually, he told me to do this part. I'm an old friend of his, and he said he was doing it, and I auditioned. I really enjoyed the audition, but I was actually auditioning for Rainsborough, and then they offered me Cromwell, which is I just love him. I suppose what initially drew me to him was that I hadn't got in my mind any fixed Cromwell, even Richard Harris or anyone that has been done in the movies, and that he is about the most contentious man in British history. And then two things I liked about him instantly was that he didn't do anything before he was 40, and also he banned Christmas, which I think is actually quite a good idea if you think about it. I went all around, I didn't go all around, but I went to all the main Cromwell spots. I went to his house in Ely, I went to Huntingdon, to his house there, and I went into the Westminster Hall, and I went to Prime Minister's Questions, just saw how the modern Commons behaves, which isn't too different to how it was then. It's very different, but... And I went to Whitehall, where King Charles, his father, built it, and Charles had his head cut off there. And so I visited a lot of places, and I read most of the biographies on Cromwell, and it was easy because he's just so interesting, and the times were so interesting. By the way, this is not my real teeth. This is makeup. It's a prop, hell or heaven. You know, you've got swords sticking out here so you can't bang into the furniture, and you've got wigs and all this crap on, and hats and boots and horses, and that's actually the most challenging thing. What Mark wants is to make this very immediate. He's doing a lot of interesting camera stuff, and he's got us to be as, I suppose, relaxed as we can be in this strange dialogue and everything. The art of the writer of a film about it is to condense 100 different actual factual events that happened and condense it into one dramatic scene. And this is what Flannery does really well, is that so that in this innocent, for instance, this scene, this innocent coming into the jail and meeting conspirators, really, or rebels, political rebels, and in that one, and she finds herself out of her depth with these formidable men, and in that scene, that's 5 years of history of what was going on while Charles I was being a pain in the ass and not calling the Parliament, you know. And so historians, I mean, all histories, I've read all the histories of this, or some of them of this period, and all histories are selective, and film is just even more selective. So I don't think historians can have a problem, really. There was so many different religious sects, and churches and pulpits were crowded every Saturday listening to the preachers who were celebrities. And Cromwell's actually quite normal when you look at the rest of what everyone else was doing, but he was crazy. I mean, everything he did, he believed he waited till God, he would fast and pray for 3 days, or however long it took, with his whole army or his government, until God told them what to do. And then, so he never did anything that wasn't told to him by God. And once he got the message from God, he just did it, whether it meant massacring people or saving or cutting the king's head off, I mean, it was crazy times. The man was a lunatic. Everyone believed God was talking to them, as lots of people do today. For instance, I do, actually. I believe often that God brought me to this part.